Welcome back. We're glad to have you back. This is Three Old Friends, The Music Never Ends, with myself, David, and my two old friends, Jose and Mike. And we're going to do a little bit of a trip down memory lane. We started this podcast not too long ago, but we've been cranking through the playlist, cranking through the music, talking about them. And at some point, we got to this point and said, I think we need to revisit some of the playlists that we've done. And there's a lot of songs, a lot of artists that we, for one reason or another, didn't make our playlist. And so we came up with the idea to go back and revisit those 15 playlists that we've already done, split it up into three different segments, and do playlists of those. And we call this kind of second helping or leftovers of what those songs were that were missed. And we're going to break it out into three different areas. Our first five playlists that we did, then 6 through 10, and then 11 through 15, and just talk about the playlists themselves and maybe why some of these songs were omitted the first time around and why we got an opportunity to put them on another playlist. And then so each playlist will have five different playlists, and again, three songs from, or one song from each of us. So 15 is the number. It seems to be working out pretty well. So to start it off and to kick it off, we're going to talk about the first five playlists that we did, and I'm just going to name those real quick so you can kind of remember what we did before. The very first one that we did was called Strong Women, and we did women artists, and we did that. The second one was One Great Band. The third one was Funky Good Times. The fourth one was cover songs that we did, the songs that artists had covered. And then the last one was called Life and Death. And so those are the five for this first 1 through 5. And we're just going to go ahead and I guess jump into it now and talk about some of those regrets and second helpings that we put it off. I kicked off this first playlist with a song by Annie Haslam. Not real well known. She's actually was a singer from a band in the 70s called Renaissance. And I put on a song called Ripples, which was a cover, but I wasn't using it under the cover playlist. It was using it under Strong Women. And I think we're going to find that out a lot, is that we use these songs and they could go into multiple different playlists that we've done depending on the genre and what we've done. But I knew how much Mike and Jose liked and myself liked Genesis, and so I put this song on that was a cover of a Genesis song.
Yeah, no, it's weird to hear that song that played that way because you're so conditioned to hear Ripples by Genesis and then the long version. Anyway, no, I thought it was a fascinating song. I thought all the songs, actually, I think the women's songs on the first five were pretty some of the best. That it was a great way to start. Even the Coming Up Close. My only question in Coming Up Close, which is a great song, is: do women listen to Bob Dylan tapes? Is that a thing? Jump into a
I like that
car.
part.
Just
Oh
kidding.
man. If anybody watches this, you're going to be in trouble.
No,
It's
I've
probably
known
your
several
fine.
women who've listened to Bob Dylan. I'm just joking, but that's all. It's a great song with some great lyrics.
Yeah, he's referring to Coming Up Close is a song by Till Tuesday, which it was their big hit. Voices Carry. I never really got into, and this is later, maybe their second and last album or something like that. And I really liked it. It's more of kind of folksy and whatever. And that's the singer. Oh my gosh, Amy Mann. I'm on the spot. 45 songs. I mean, I can't remember everything. So that's kind of where she started out. I mean, she maybe did other stuff before that, but and I got really into Amy Mann later. So I've been wanting to put her on a list, and she was on my short list for the Strong Women. And then Jose had Tracy Chapman from her first record, Mountains of Things, which I love. I love that record, and particularly that song. Don't take too much time on it, but I have a lot of good memories about that album.
Oh yeah,
great.
no, I used to listen to it quite a bit. Well, I was actually when Rosemary. She's actually the one that turned me on to it, and of course, she's had fame now. Someone did a country version of Fast Cars, and won a Grammy. So now she's kind of had a small resurgence. I don't think she's ever, but that album, top to bottom, is one of the best albums I've ever heard. So, yeah, and I find it amusing that in the next three songs, they're all kind of go together. I guess we just have that innate ability to put together a theme even though we don't try.
Yeah, I like the fact that we started out with the three women because that was the first one. I know we kind of have a running joke sometimes where we'll do a playlist and we either, not that we're consciously forgetting the women or anything, but sometimes we don't have that artist on there. So having them all three in a row kicked this playlist off pretty good. And then like you said, I think the next three kind of flowed pretty good. It's gonna be a little herky jerky a little bit on these playlists because we're switching from one playlist theme to another, and using 5 different themes. But I think the next three, we had Bad Company, Shooting Star, Rolling Stones, Torn and Frayed, and David Bowie, Moon Age Daydream. And yeah, I think those three went pretty well together.
No,
Yeah, I agree. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say this was the what is it? Every great band. What is it again?
One great band, yeah.
Yeah, I struggled with the songs I was gonna put on that when I did put the songs on. I never really got the concept down right. That's on me or whatever. So I got some criticism about a particular REM song. I still stand by it. But
Eric Clapton.
yes, an Eric Clapton song that wasn't Layla, or cocaine. Anyway, but yeah, I liked all these choices. Yeah, no more to say about that.
I think Dave, you say that it's kind of herky jerky, but actually, if you go through it, it really isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Because some of the topics I think lended itself well to some of the music, and of course I think we listened to certain brand of music and so I thought it all kind of went together. But the Shining Star, and then Torn and Frayed and Moon, all about rock stars, having their issues, having their moments. Of course, Shooting Stars, which is kind of funny because of course some of these songs are rock stars who flamed out, or you'll hear a song. I mean, we haven't done a one-hit wonders yet, so but I'm sure it's pretty funny to hear all three of these songs at different points of these rock stars' lives.
Were you familiar with all three of those next three songs? I had not heard, or I did not remember Torn and Frayed. I don't think I had that particular Rolling Stone album. I know you had it, and but I don't remember that song.
Well, it's kind of a cheat because Fish covers that song, and they covered Exile on Main Street, so they play it ever so often. So I get to hear that song more often than not. So, and plus it's a great song. But and Shooting Stars, of course, an FM classic. And Moon Age Daydream, okay, I'll say it. Fish covered David Bowie's Rise and Fall. So they played that song back on their Halloween show in 2019, I think it was. And so I get to hear these songs because Fish covers all these songs. And so when you hear them, and that's those two have actually made their rotation. They'll play it at least once or twice during the tour. So if you just happen to catch it. So, but yeah, I can't believe you hadn't heard Torn and Frayed. Although, it's not like, I don't know if I had Exile late and we just didn't play it as much, because that didn't really make a lot of the old tapes either.
Yeah, I kind of got into that late. I knew a lot of their, well, of course, greatest hits stuff when I was younger, and then I think for the longest time, Sticky Fingers, Let It Bleed, and Some Girls, different periods in there, whatever. Those were my favorites, and so it was only much later that I got into Exile on Main Street, and then I got way into that one. I got pretty obsessive about it. So, yeah, I knew it, but at the time we were doing our thing, I didn't know it very well. Some of the songs got airplay though, so.
Oh yeah.
And on the Moon Age Daydream, I had that album, but I for the life of me couldn't remember the song at all. I don't know where was it on the disc? Was it like, fourth track on the B side or somewhere?
Right, it's early. I think it's the
Or was
third
it
song
early?
or fourth song.
Yeah, I think it's, or even the second song.
Second,
I
yeah.
mean, it's very
It probably
early.
wasn't. It probably wasn't one of the albums that I just listened cover to cover on, or
Yeah.
whatever. I knew it. I'd listened to it a few times, but probably I would turn it off after the second and third song or something. I don't know, because I did not remember the song at all.
Well, I was thinking, looking back on it after, and looking back on the playlist now as we made this one, given Torn and Frayed, Shooting Star, it would have been much better if I put Ziggy Stardust, which is about a rock star burning out
Right.
and dying or whatever happens to him.
Ziggy played
Well, that's
guitar.
the whole album is that. I mean, the
Yeah.
whole, the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust. So it's this
Right.
whole thing. And even this song's about him basically having to perform, and you're going to perform no matter what kind of thing. So
Mm.
not like the uplifting Shooting Star. And if someone would have thrown in Jukebox Hero, man, we would have really killed it.
Hey, we'll save that.
Oh.
For another, I have that one ready for another playlist.
Oh boy, I'm
How
gonna
did
refrain
Foreigner
from
make-
commenting.
How did Foreigner make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Yeah,
Urgent, urgent, must make it onto a playlist.
Dirty White Boy. Thank you. Dirty White Boy.
I want to know. I know this isn't
Cold
them,
as
but it might as well be. I
cold
wanna
as
know what all
ice.
it is.
Come on.
Gold as Ice. They had some good. Actually, their first couple albums were good. It was they hit Foreigner 4, and then it kind of. But
I
it,
like Head Games.
right,
Oh,
Head
that
Game.
wasn't bad.
But in that 83 time frame, and when we're in high school, that 404 thing was
Wow.
huge.
Right. Remember they came and everyone had to have a ticket to Foreigner 4 and get their little Foreigner 4 t-shirt. And oh yeah. I
That
want to
was-
know what love is. Come on.
The Jukebox Heroes one was one of the best songs you could jam if you had good speakers in your car and you're pulling up to school and then you accidentally get in an accident. Oh wait, we won't go down that path that day.
Was that the time you got in 2 accidents in
Two
one
in
day?
the same day.
And we
then I
thought
was
you were
late.
going to jail.
'Cause then I was late, and then I just skipped school after that and got in another accident. Yeah, in my little Carmen Gia.
That's and then
Carmen-
someone said they saw Dave Duke in a cop car. He's like, oh, he got busted. And then you didn't show up, so we're like, oh, he got arrested. So the rumor was for like until you came back, you're like, where were you at? I was in the car. Not once, but twice. I was like, oh, well.
Trust me, that was a hard one to explain to my parents.
I'm sure.
You know, it's funny this story because I also got in a car wreck in a school parking lot because of a song. It was that car song "You Might Think." You know, whatever that is. Yeah.
that's a good
Oh
one.
yeah.
I hated that song, and it was on. I turned on the radio, and my buddy's in the car with me, and I turn on the song. And it's like I look over, and it was like I hate this song, and I'm griping about it, backing up. I'm back into this really nice. I don't know if it was a Camaro or Trans Am or what it was, but and the guy got out and punched me in the face
Oh my
in the
god.
school parking lot.
He
And
punched
then the
you in
next day,
face?
walked up to me in school and apologized. I was like, okay,
Oh my
well,
god.
wow.
You know,
We need to go
we've had-
some anger management, dude.
No doubt.
well, we did these 3 playlists, but before that, we've done 15 playlists. So if you're counting at home, that's 225 songs that we've put on. And the Cars haven't made the list yet, but they should.
No.
They
But
should.
one day, I'm sure. Although I'm not a big fan. They're all right.
Rick Ocasek.
I like Candio, probably maybe their first album a little bit, and it kind of stops there.
Yeah. No, not a big fan.
Well, hey, getting back to the ones we did put on, where were
Yes.
we at? Any
We're
other
at
comments on those first 2? The next 3 were from
The Horns.
Funky Good Times, the Horns. It seems like we have lots of those. So we put on Chuck Mangione, Children of Sanchez, Parliament. Jose put that one on. Mothership Connection, and then followed up by a Cool Groove with Earth, Wind and Fire, Shining Star. So what do you think about those 3 in succession?
They were fantastic. That Children of Sanchez, it reminds me of I kept thinking about this, of Mana La Mancha. If you ever heard that Broadway, yes, I've listened to Broadway tunes before. I've even seen Mana La Mancha on stage. But anyway, The Impossible Dream, that kind of thing. And it has that same kind of feel. It's all uplifting. It gets a little, puts a pep in your step. And I told you all this story before. Mothership Connection and Shining Star, that summer, I used to spend my summers in Puerto Rico. My mom would send us off to our grandmother in Puerto Rico, so we'd spend like 2 months there. So it wasn't much to do there. My aunt would send her son, my cousin, to there as well, and he was from New York City. And one year he brought 4 Parliament tapes, and I think he had the Earth, Wind, and Fire album. So for a summer, that was my soundtrack, so to speak. And I never really appreciated it back then because you're 12. We were listening to Beatles and heavy metal because we're from San Antonio, and all of a sudden you're getting this rhythm and blues and this Parliament, which isn't. It's like, and I finally realized, after listening to it for all that time, you get a love for it. And then I got to see Parliament at least 3 times. So, there's some great songs there.
Yeah, I liked all 3 of them. Children of Sanchez, I learned was a movie, which I don't know, Anthony Quinn, I forget who plays the Mr. Sanchez or whatever, but I'm interested in seeing it now. And I recognized it. This version has lyrics, and I think I'd heard the instrumental. And then Mothership Connection, I didn't get into Parliament till, I think after I knew you guys, honestly. So in the early mid-90s maybe. And another one I got real obsessive about. And then I too, when I remember, it's like a summer that I can connect that Earth, Wind, and Fire song to. We were at a summer camp in Oklahoma, and so I would have been 4th grade when that came out. And there was a kid in the big lunch hall or whatever, dining hall, who brought a tape recorder with him, just one of those cheap whatever, and he had like a mix of Earth, Wind, and Fire songs. And I was like, I love those songs, I've heard them on the radio. And the kid was like, he wouldn't let me listen to it. He's like, well, this is mine. Turned it off. Then so I was like, oh man, so I have to get, I got the record, and when I got back home, and there's actually a couple of records. But yeah, this song is also I don't know if you know the Little Kicks episode of Seinfeld, where Elaine does a funky dance,
Right.
and everybody's making fun of. That's the song she's doing it to.
Right. That's true.
I've forgotten that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
With all of these, it can always be said that we probably need to do a part 2 for each of them. There's so many songs that have horns.
Oh,
That as I was researching this for the second one, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have a lot of regrets from other ones that I didn't put on. So that was way cool. And yeah, and I had heard the Chuck Mangione version, and as I was researching this, I came across that one with the lyrics and the singing in it, which I didn't even know existed. So this is also helping us as we do these, is that we're able to explore and look for other music and other things. And I knew the song, but not the one with the lyrics and the singing in it. So I thought that was kind of neat.
no, I think you make a great point that discovering old groups that we used to listen to or new people simply because we want to find something is such a bonus to this, finding song. Some of these songs on here, I never would have thought of if I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to do something different, or I want to do something. Oh, I've heard of that, but I'll see if it works out on you guys. So,
right. And I think that's what we've been doing too, is we've been just like back in the day, we throw something on and we surprise each other with it, because we have a little bit of different backgrounds and tastes, and that's the great part, is that discovery of new songs. At some point we probably need to get, not just do that, because we're all trying to do that right now. We've still been doing that, like, oh, they're not going to know this song, I'm going to get them with this one. But it's okay to revisit the tried and true and the ones we know. So Mike and I, we've talked about some of the different maybe playlists coming up, where we just pick 1 or 2 or 3 artists that we all know, that we all like, and pick some songs from them. We don't always have to go B-side, deep cut, deep track with it as well. The next three that we looked at was the cover songs, and there were a ton of great cover songs when we did this. In fact, that was one of my favorite ones, I think, that we did when we did the covers. And so I've been waiting and looking for an opportunity to put on Jeff Buckley and Hallelujah song. I probably couldn't tell you anything else that Jeff Buckley did. I didn't own any of his records, but this one song with Hallelujah was a big hit. It was originally done by Leonard Cohen. No one knows that version very much, unless you search for it. Yeah. I've heard it. I like the original one too. And we talked about that too. It's kind of the rule set is you would absolutely know that song and who maybe did it. Well, in this case, Jose put on "It's Too Late" by Tedeschi Trucks. Didn't know the original, didn't know the new one, but it's a cover. And then Mike did "Porque" by a group called Grupo Fantasma. They covered the Beatles because, and we gave Mike a lot of crap when we first heard that song, but it's growing on me. It's pretty cool, like the beat of that. So the Hallelujah song's a little long. It's like six something, or could have been on the long and short of it. But I think it's a pretty cool song.
Well, my only complaint with that one was that it got played a lot over the last 5 years or something like that. You'd hear it all like on different spots. Other than that, obviously it's a great song. And Mike, let's explain the Porque here.
I don't know any explanation. Yeah, okay. My song was Porque by Grupo Fantasma, who there's a little background on them. I don't know if they still are, but they're a band that originates from Austin, excuse me. There are actually two bands that kind of got together. They backed up Prince several times. They'd like his after shows. They played a lot of those. You know anything about that? I heard it on a radio station here actually several times. It's not a pop station, obviously, but I just like the sound of it. It's okay. Some people might think it's cheesy, the Spanish, but I like it. They also covered Saturday in the Park in Spanish, but I liked it. I really actually thought it would go over a little bit better than it did, but I stick with it. I think it just has something about that beat to it that kind of really adds something. I know you can't really add to the Beatles, but gives it a new interpretation. So Hallelujah, I first got into Leonard Cohen via this covers album called I'm Your Fan, and one of the songs on there was Hallelujah by Jeff Buckley, and for the longest time that was the only version I heard. And then you start hearing it everywhere, and now I'm so used to hearing Leonard. I got really well into Leonard Cohen, and that's when I'm very familiar with it, but not everybody. he's not for everybody, so yeah. Anyway, my son sang that song in a middle school choir thing too.
There you go.
But yeah, I thought they were good. All of them. Did I mention all of them? The Layla. This goes without saying. I love that album. So It's Too Late was awesome.
That's just a masterpiece of an album. And Tedeschi Trucks doing it was natural. They did the whole album all the way through at one of the festivals a couple of years ago. And of course they had Trey from Fish on it, so extra special. But you can't how can you go wrong covering that album? It's not hard to mess up. So
Yep.
And didn't you say something about Porque that Jose, that your mom liked it? So that's always a bonus, right?
My mom gives it the stamp of approval, and she's a little better than I know she listens to some of the songs, so if I see her tapping her foot or something, then I know, okay, but of course, some songs don't go over as well. But Porque, of course, since it's in Spanish and she understood it, she was like, oh, I like that one. Okay, it's the first time she speaks up. She likes that one. So there you go.
the Beatles one, I mean, I love that song, the harmonies, the arrangements there on their one of the anthology. They have a version that's just the vocals, and the harmonies are just amazing. And I don't know, I thought the cover they did a pretty good job of that too.
Well, I
Yeah.
think probably the Beatles were probably the most covered band of all time, right? And I think the song Yesterday, I think actually holds the record for the most times it's been covered, you know, by somebody. Um, so we'll have to do just a Beatles playlist or something. like
Isn't it?
that.
Well, if I did my little statistics, didn't we only use them once or twice? And I think
Yeah.
the only Beatles song I did use was the new one.
The new one. Right, they have all
So
these
maybe we
great
should work on.
songs. Out of 225 songs, we can't seem to slip the Beatles in anywhere, right?
Well, I think what it is that we used them quite a bit back in the day. And of course, you have that a version like everyone's heard the song 1,000 times, even though there are some versions like Mike said on the anthologies, and I have the Abbey Road deluxe edition, and I'm sure they're out there. They have outtakes and then the tapes for the White Album. They did an acoustic version, and that's out there. So might have to check into that a little more. You know, they're only the Beatles. Who needs them?
Isn't there something I saw recently where is there's something with McCartney and Lennon's kids or something doing something?
Yeah,
But
it's it's okay. I mean, it's not bad. You can kind of hear their dad's voice, Sean Lennon and I think James McCartney. Yeah, you know, you can kind of hear their dad's voice, and it's a little reminiscent of maybe, you know, some of the chord changes and things. But yeah, I don't know. I don't. I'm not expecting a second Beatles. They get Zach Starkey and Donnie Harrison.
what about Julian? He had his
Uh,
he had his day with Velote, you know, and with sitting on by the river, whatever that one is.
Did you own that album, Dave?
I don't know if I did or not.
I think you
I
did.
did.
I'm gonna
maybe
throw
I
that
did.
you did. Maybe Tom did. Tom Topol might have owned it. Someone owned that album in our realm. You own
I
that?
did.
Oh, no wonder.
Yeah.
There it is.
I saw him. I saw him on that tour.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and that's when looking back, it's like not bad. It was just like, you know, John Lennon had only been dead a few years, and I was like, his voice was reminiscent of that. So I got way into it, you know, way too much. But it was all right, you know.
Right.
It doesn't really hold up over time, but yeah,
what was that? What was the other song? Much Too Late for Goodbyes. Was that on there?
yeah.
I
Yep.
can't believe you own that.
Couple decent songs. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So the last three that we did was based on the playlist Life and Death, and just to explain that, it was a couple of songs on life, you know, building in birth and life, and then in the middle we kind of paid homage to an artist who had passed away in that previous year, and then we then we kind of pivoted to more towards later in life and death. So you could pick really anything from that that setup, and I think the three songs we came up with that got left off was I put on a song called 100 Years by Five for Fighting, which we hadn't played any Five for Fighting. Jose did Two Suns in the Sunset by Pink Floyd. Was familiar with that one, and then Mike ended the first playlist with Who Knows Where the Time Goes by a band I hadn't heard of, Fairport Convention, and but I thought all three of those songs kind of went good to end the first playlist. Thoughts on that?
Well, if I can just jump in, you basically did the life part, and Jose and I did death. The 100 years, I guess, you know. But I've heard that song, and it was bugging me. I was like, I've heard this going with a slideshow somewhere, and I think it was at a graduation ceremony, like a high school graduation. Somebody had done a slideshow. And I like it. I'd forgotten about it, and the more I listened to it, I think at the time when I heard it, I was like, eh. But it's grown on me. Two Sons in the Sunset. I mean, can't go wrong with a nuclear war. And then mine has kind of a personal connection. It's Fairport Convention musician I really like, Richard Thompson. He was a guitarist, or at least a guitarist from then, and he went on to still has a great solo career. The singer was Sandy Denny. I think I got that right. There's another Sandy Dennis who's an actor. I think I get them confused. Anyway, and it's not explicitly about death, but it's all describing leaving. And I had this friend of mine. He worked with me at the newspaper. He and his wife. His wife was my boss, the editor. And they both have passed away since then. He just died a few years ago, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to make his memorial service. But I put something on Facebook. Richard Thompson, who we kind of bonded over that. He liked Richard Thompson's music, and Richard Thompson playing a cover of this song. And so it kind of is like my memorial. It makes me think of him every time I hear this song. So I had meant that to be on the last one or on the women playlist, so I had to put that on.
Yeah, like I said, they all went so well together. I don't know what it says about us picking death, but and Dave picking life. Plus, none of us picking, what was the other one? Birth, right? Was it Birth? Was it?
Yeah,
was
we had
just
some
life.
songs about birth at the beginning.
Yeah. So anyway, no, and every time we get one of these playlists, I always find myself, you always find yourself liking one song really more than the others, and it just happened to be 100 Years that that song always catches me off guard because it's towards the end, but every time you hear it, you're like, this song makes a lot of sense to me. When you identify with the song, you identify with the song, and I did with that one. And then of course Two Sons, well, that's just us. Final Cut, I just kind of threw it on. That was kind of cheating. There's a regret. Maybe I should have picked something different.
I should have said this. I love that song, as dark as it is.
It's a great song.
I love that album.
And
And
it's
that's
always
one
so
of my
poignant
favorites.
even today, if you look at it that way.
That's
Oh yeah.
one of my all-time favorite albums, I think, too. And I liked, talking just for a minute about that last song too. I liked the ending of the playlist in that song. Never heard the group. There's a female singer, I guess, right, on this. Or
There's a mix on different songs, but yeah, they were an English folk band. They did a lot of like old, like, I don't know, Renaissance type period music, but old English stuff.
Well, because you said that Renaissance, and I mentioned that at the beginning, it sounded like that early 70s stuff that Annie Haslam had kind of done. So between the start and then the ending, I thought that was a nice bookend to this playlist, at least. Yeah, I like.
Oh, I thought the first 15 went really well altogether for all our endeavors.
All right. Well, do we want to switch to the next five? Probably a good place. Or well, I should say any other comments about the 1 through 5? Was like Jose had said, he had maybe a song like the 100 Years that jumped out at him. For me, my favorite song on this whole playlist was the Till Tuesday song, Coming Up Close. And I know it's a little poppy or whatever, but I forgot I liked that song so much. I didn't remember it at first. And it's the song on this playlist that I keep coming back to. What about you, Mike?
There's a few, so it's hard to single out one, but I really do like that Jeff Buckley Hallelujah. I don't notice it being long just because I get so into it. And I know, like you're saying, Jose, it has been on every TV show when they have like an emotional part, and I agree. It's like, it is overplayed, which kind of saddens me a little bit because I think it's such a good song. It's a shame people could get burned out on it.
Right, for sure.
And right behind that is Grupo Fantasma.
Can you pick your own song?
I don't know. This is one I was like, I decided in advance I want to do it on this one, so not all these mesh in neatly.
No.
It's going to go down in history.
Oh yeah,
well, good.
All right then.
We've all had our moments.
So the next five then, 6 through 10, I'll quickly recap what the titles were, and then we'll get into those. So number 6 was country western. I think that's what we called it. The next one was Freeform, which was just whatever songs we wanted to put on. After that, we had Christmas 2023. So we had Christmas type songs, followed by in memoriam, or for those who had passed away and artists in 2023. And then finally, the long and short of it, which was a collection of long songs and short songs. So it was kind of a little bit of both. So that's where we started with this list. And the first 3 were, again, the country western. I just have to say right off the bat, I think that the original country western one we did, I think, is probably, if not my favorite, one of my favorite playlists that we've done. I like that genre. I like the acoustic stuff. I like the bluegrass feel and all of the kind of stuff that goes with it. And then, so we put these next 3 songs on for the second helping, and Jose started it with Been Down This Road, Railroad Earth. I'd never heard of them. The second one is I didn't write the whole title. I've been to Georgia
On a Fast Train.
on a Fast Train, Billy Joe Shaver. And then I put on Oak Ridge Boys, Ozark Mountain Jubilee. Loved these 3 songs in a row, and we will get into the 4th song after that, but I wish we would have just kept going from that point on, right? With the country western stuff, because all 3 songs were excellent and they fit well together, and just loved it.
Yeah, I think you make a good point that I like to go back and revisit our playlist once in a while. Obviously, I drove to Wichita Falls and had a lot of time to play different playlists as I was driving up there. And country and western one always seems to pop up more often than not, which is interesting because it's not really my thing, but man, it's such a great place. So that one was hard to top, but like you said, Dave, these 3 songs were, just fantastic. Even how Railroad Earth, which they don't play very much, I only have a little bit of. I've seen them once. They're part of the jam band scene, but they're really good, man. I'm like, I better re-examine that. And just listening to that, patting myself on the back. But then, and then Mike's song, I've been to Georgia on a Fast Car, just a hopping, moving kind of song. Just like, man, this is, and then right into yours, let's face it, who would, think that we would like the Oak Ridge Boys, what do I know about the Oak Ridge Boys except for that Elvira, right? But here's this song right here that just blows you away. So yeah, 3 songs, 3 great songs to start it off.
I like them too, and I'll go into the Oak Ridge Boys, Ozark Mountain Jubilee first. In the when I was a teenager, when they were, I think when this maybe came out, I don't remember this back then. I do remember Elvira, but they were like, I was listening to something completely different. And I thought you wouldn't have never gotten me to listen to this back in the day. But at the same time, I was also like, Willie Nelson, that's old people music. And now I'm like, I have like so many Willie Nelson records, and I love his music. And this is a great song, this Ozark Mountain Jubilee. One reason I like it is because, well, all these songs have a train connection to them.
Yeah, they
and
did.
Ozark Mountain Jubilee, they talk about this train at the Silver Dollar City amusement park there near Branson, where I went as a kid, and I rode on the Silver Dollar line. I rode on that thing. They have like a hold up and all this stuff that goes on, and those are some really good memories of my life. So the Ozarks and all that. I know there's that show out now that maybe has a darker side. What is it? Well, you guys know the name of it. I can't think of it. All the drug dealing and such up in. Yeah. Oh, just Ozark. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and then Railroad Earth too. I really love that. Starting out with the bluegrass and just the arrangement where he slips into like the minor key there on the chorus. It hit my spot. So I agree. Those are great songs.
Yeah, and I didn't know that. I mean, with the Ozark Mountain Jubilee, I don't know what it is about that one song, but most of the lead singer song, or the songs that were sung are by a different guy. So he gets like his one song on each album kind of deal, whatever. And it's the guy with the really long hair and the long beard. I don't even know his name, but this is his song. And anyway, but yeah, I've always
Yeah.
liked that one. I hadn't known a lot of Oak Ridge Boys growing up either, but somehow I hit on this song a long time ago and liked it. And then we kind of pivoted to the next one, which was Freeform, which could be anything at all. And you know, you can do an easy transition from the country western, or you can go, bam, we're going with Mr. Oysterhead by Oysterhead.
He's an inspiration to us all.
We like that. And then so Jose did that one, and Mike followed it up with Dinosaur by King Crimson, and then I ended with ELO, The Diary of Horace Whim. So those three kind of changed the tone of this playlist quite a bit right from the start. Comments, thoughts about these three?
Well, let me just say, and I'll give it away early. Dinosaur was my favorite one of this 15. I thought that song was so well done. Has that kind of Peter Gabriel feel. I think did we talk about that, Mike?
Well, I know Tony Levin's on both recordings.
Right. I don't know why I feel that way, but the lyrics are really good. You know, digging up my bones. I'm a dinosaur. Sometimes you feel that way, especially when you're in the newspaper business. When you were at that moment, you felt like a dinosaur sometimes because things have changed so dramatically. So it just identified with it. And then the ELO, the diary of. Okay,
have you heard that before?
No, you must have played it once or twice, I'm sure. And I don't even know if it made a tape or not, but I like the song. You know, it was a close second to Dinosaur. For some reason, those three songs were really.
Well, I knew Mike had some ELO background and had known some of them, and I've listened to some, but not a lot. And this was one of my favorite songs by ELO. I don't know what it is, but it wasn't as hard an edge as the two you put on. It kind of softened us back, you know, to a little bit of a.
That's true.
You know, the Oysterhead, before I say anything else about it, what is that about? I'm not really sure I understand.
Hey, they're a really great group. I don't think their lyrics, I mean, you know, you have Les Claypool, you have Trey Anastasia from Push, and then Stuart Copeland from The Police, and there's just a power trio. And they've only done it, they've done only one album, and I think they've done maybe one or two tours. I know I have boots from one of them, but just recently. But they've only done like 10 shows together. But they threw out this other album, and of course, it's just you don't hear anything like that. I don't know why. You know, maybe if you're more Primus fan, that kind of stuff, more bass driven. Because you don't hear very many bass driven songs sometimes. And Les Claypool likes to take the lead sometimes, especially on that album. So it's just a weird, different kind of album, a fun kind of album. There's no real meaning to it. Although Army on Ecstasy, another song, maybe that has some meaning, but not really. They're just a fun band.
Well, I missed it when you were describing it that Les Claypool was part of it. I had just seen him. I was never really heavily into Primus. They always kind of intrigued me and scared me a little, but they're interesting. And but I was listening to him like, man, this sounds like Primus. And I was like, this has got to be. And I looked up, oh yeah, okay, he's involved in it. He did a project with Sean Lennon, talking about him a minute ago. And they just toured with it was a double set. The opening, another connection to this was Adrian Belew and Jerry Harrison from the Talking Heads, and they did a lot of Talking Head songs and a couple of King Crimson, and that wasn't why I didn't realize again, but I don't know. I feel about the same way about that song, the Oysterhead, as I do about Primus. It's like really intriguing, but I don't know. It kind of scares me a little bit. No, whatever. The King Crimson I got way into in the mid '90s, and I thought it was kind of funny. Here's this old, you know, prog band coming back doing this song called Dinosaur. I thought it was pretty funny. Again, Adrian Blues in that, and then but yeah, it's a rocking song. I love that. There's another couple on there that I have to put on something else in the future. And then Discovery or whatever, Horace Wimp. I bought that record. You're right. I did own that record, Discovery. And I was staying with my grandmother in far West Texas or West Texas. And she's like, well, let's go down to Abilene, which is the closest big city. And you can buy something. And so I bought a record, and she didn't really, I don't know what it was about. Looking at the cover, she didn't approve of it, but she let me buy it. And so I took it up. I was staying at her house for the summer, and she had this little kid's record player, and with a speaker in the actual base of the record player. And so that's what I listened to, that record, probably ruined the record too with that old needle. But yeah, it's grown on me. That was a good song. So I think I'm going on too long on my descriptions here. So
Oh, no,
try to-
I think
you're all right.
it's interesting that we all like for example, King Crimson is one we've talked about before, and I don't know. I think I had one or two of their albums. I had the and the Crimson King. I had a couple of them, but yet we lose track of what they've been doing. And then you pull this song from like the mid '90s, which I had stopped listening probably to them at that point. And so this was new and fresh to me. I know King Crimson. I know their songs. I like their style, but this song kind of blew me away because I hadn't heard it before. And same kind of thing. We can all probably do that. I think I was talking about that before. I was like, have you heard this song? Oh no, I haven't heard that one by King Crimson. So there's other ones that we could play, and we all three like King Crimson, but we maybe don't have the full catalog of all their songs, right?
Oh, for
To
sure.
play. But anyway, then we transitioned into the Christmas stuff, which right in the middle of our playlist. We're going Christmas. We don't care. And Jose started that with a song called Merry Christmas by Elton John and Ed Sheeran. And for whatever reason, I have never heard that song either. And then Mike did Winter Long by the Pixies. Never heard that one either. And then I was just exploring and stuff when, looking for stuff, and I came across the Pentatonics. I knew their sound and what they did, but I didn't know this song either. So I just put it on. It's called That's Christmas to Me. So all three of these songs were new and fresh to me. I hadn't heard any of them at all. And I think they're going to become staples in my Christmas song collection for years to come because I liked all three of them.
Yeah, I did too. It's funny because when we did the thing at the holidays, there were a number of songs on there that were like, more about holidays and, like they weren't necessarily Christmas. And so what I was trying to do with my song was do something, since it's mid-year or whatever, it's often the holidays, I'll like do a winter related song, but and then you guys do like two actual Christmas songs. And I love both the songs, particularly the Ed Sheeran, Elton John. It's like, I've never heard that. That's a great song. It's like, I almost hate that I don't want to say waste it now, but if we do another holiday thing, it would be great to have that on. But yeah, it's going to be on my holiday playlist. And, I guess the last one we did that, the number 15 of these, there was an Ed Sheeran song in there, and I'm saying his name right. And so that kind of really got me into him. So that's great. And the Pentatonics, really, really cool harmonies. I'm not very familiar with them. Gonna check them out some more.
Well, they're from Arlington, Texas. Who knew?
Oh, really?
I just happened to look that up the other day because one of them, this is always strange when you're scrolling through something and you see stuff and you think the people are listening. Of course, you talk about them, and then of course there's stuff starts popping up about them. So, anyway, I just happened to know that. The woman in the group got married or something like that from that. And you're like, oh, they're from Arlington. Anyway, let me just say, when you're walking and it's 100 degrees out, or that humidity is 100%, and all of a sudden Christmas songs come on, it actually feels good. It's a weird feeling because you're like, oh, that's right, Christmas, the bells, and you're walking in the middle of all this humidity and stuff like that. So it's always a strange feeling. But and of course, full disclosure on the Ed Sheeran, I only started looking. I was like, oh, Christmas, what do I have to find? I have to find something. I have to look for something. I thought, I was just like most of us. Oh, here's a Christmas song by Ed Sheeran and Elton John. So it was new to me as well, you know. And like I said, that's the beauty of this. And man, even I liked it. I'm not a big Christmas guy, so again, just thought it was a great song. Winter Long, of course, that's Neil Young. But that they've used this version in a movie or a television show. I think I've heard this before for some reason. One of these shows, many shows that I watch, I think they've used that version. But it's a great version. You know, some might say, yeah, comparable to Neil Young. And then, of course, the Pentatonics, of course, how can you go wrong? And of course, like I said, it's funny when you hear the messages about Christmas in May. And you're just like, why can't, again, always my own personal, you should be feeling like that all the time. We should be happy we should be always celebrating family and stuff. Anyway, I know.
Yeah, I agree.
David for December, but I always had like even the message there is family, being together, that kind of stuff. Anyway, okay, I'll get off my soapbox.
Well, you mentioned, Mike, about not the Christmas song, but Jose had started the original Christmas playlist off with a song called Winter by Rolling Stone. And then his second choice song was Holiday by Scorpions. So he was going off track from Christmas right from the beginning on the original playlist. So don't feel bad. Winter Long was a pretty cool song there. Yeah, I'd forgotten too that Ed Sheeran and Elton John are actually friends, right? And they've collaborated and whatnot on some other things too. So that was way cool. The next ones were in memoriam of those who had passed away, and we right off the bat knew there were ones we missed when we did the original playlist. There are a lot of great artists that had passed away in 2023. And so Jose started it off with a song called Medicine Jar from Paul McCartney and the Wings. And Denny McLain, I guess, had played with
Denny Lane.
Did I say Denny McLain? Denny
he won
Denny
30
Lane.
games he won 30 games
Denny
for the
McLain,
Tigers.
the barber shaves another customer.
Denny McLain.
Yeah. Anyway,
Denny Lane.
He'd played with the Moody Blues before that, and then Mike did "Take the Devil." Is that right? Is that the name of the song? By Randy Meisner of the Eagles, and I guess he had played with who did he play with before that?
Was he in Poco?
Poco, I think. Yeah, Poco.
Maybe.
And then the third song was a song called "Some of These Children" by an artist named Miles Goodwin. You probably don't know who he is, but he was one of the co-founders and lead singer and guitarist of April Wine. And again, this is one that I stumbled across just by researching people who had passed away. And I could have gone with, Sign of the Gypsy Queen, or, Just Between You and Me, April Wine classics. Songs or whatever, but I started listening to him, and he like I say, passed away in 2023, and he had an album that he put out in 2022, and I said, let me listen to the last thing that this guy did, and he was 81 years old, something like that, 82, and I was blown away the fact that years later, late in his life, he could compile an album of songs that were just, I thought, were really good top to bottom. And so I focused on this one song, "Some of These Children," and put that one on. It kind of reminded me a little bit of a Crosby, Stills, Nash or David Crosby kind of vibe on it. But this was a good opportunity to put that one in on this list. And the other two, I was familiar with Medicine Jar. Didn't remember Take the Devil, but both were great songs as well. I can't go wrong with Wings and Eagles songs. So I thought the three songs, this is another area where I thought these three songs all went real well together and complemented each other and flowed real nice.
Yeah, the Miles Goodwin, when you said that's what you're putting on next before I heard the song, and you said April Wine, I'm like, really? Because there's certain kinds of music I didn't listen to at the time. No offense to you guys, I'm sure they're great, but I was not into April Wine. And this is not April Wine. This is exactly David Crosby is who it reminded me of. and it is a great song. It's really good. So I'm glad you put that on. What was it? Medicine Jar. I think I actually put it on tape maybe back in the day. It's off of what's it? Venus and Mars, maybe, which I think is an underrated album. And it's, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, those are both choices. Mine was just, I was trying to come up with something that Randy Meisner sang on, and I couldn't do Take It to the Limit. I just can't hear that song anymore. It just played way too much. And there's another one I can't think of right now. And then he did one on Desperado, which I'm like, okay. And I'd never actually, I don't know that I've heard this Take the Devil that many times, because I never really listened to their first album, which is what it's off of. But when I was kind of researching for this thing, I'm like, that's a good song. I like that. So that's why I put that on there.
Well, I will say, if you look at all three songs, they're not the most uplifting. I don't know what that says about us again. I mean, yeah, Medicine Jar, which is, we all know what that's about. You know, dipping your hand in the medicine jar, then Take the Devil, and then Miles Goodwin singing about children who are not gonna, which, by the way, is a fantastic song. Again, Dave, it's just exploring new areas, new people, finding new songs just to listen to and then enjoy. Of course, April Wine. I think that was the little difference in Dallas and San Antonio in terms of, not that Dallas didn't rock or have anything, and they had their metal moments, but San Antonio was a hotbed of just metal all the time for the most part, and April Wine was part of that rotation. And then when I lived in Dallas, not as much. So, it was there, but not as much. But still, you find the guys that do this, and they're obviously talented enough to front a band that had some success, and then they're just putting out music for themselves usually. Because let's face it, I mean, who's going out? His hardcore fans are buying that stuff, and they're out there. Everyone has a following. You just take the percentages. Like when Richie did Sebastian Bach's tour, he had a following. These guys just have a following no matter where they go, and they're just happy to be making music. Whether they're making money or they're not making. Obviously, they want to make money, but they're not making money. Well, at least they can afford to do an album like this and share this kind of music, and for you to go searching for it even makes it that much better, because let's face it, again, exposure to this kind of stuff. That's what it's all about.
Well, the last three songs that we went with were the long and short of it, and I can't really tell which ones were the long and which ones were the short. They were all kind of medium songs. I don't know if we just didn't care. Actually, the last song. So first song was "Goes to the Forest," another Trey Anastasio song. We're getting to be quite familiar with Jose's favorite artist, or one of his favorite artists.
My fault.
Mike then kept the devil theme going for some reason, and went Devil's Arcade by Bruce Springsteen, and I wasn't familiar with that one. And then I ended it with a fairly long song, 7 minutes, I think, or something, with Triumph, Blinding Light Show / Moonchild. And so we did those last three. And I guess if I had to say anything about these ones, with anytime you hear Bruce Springsteen, it's one of those things where you have to listen to it a couple of times. Because especially his slow songs, his slow kind of things, you got to listen to the emotion and the feeling, and look at the lyrics and see what he's really singing about. Otherwise, it's just a slow, sappy song and you don't know anything about it. But this one here, I actually kind of looked up to see maybe what is this about, and it's got a couple of different themes going on with this song. One is probably a soldier or somebody who had died, and lamenting the loss of them, and the spouse is missing them, or something to that effect. And then the other part is that there's a series of sexual related lyrics that kind of talk you through that life spectrum, or so to speak. I didn't pick up on that when I first heard the song. I knew it was about death and somebody passing and dying, But as I listened to it 2 or 3 more times, I kind of got that other message that was there. And I think I appreciated the song a little bit more after I looked at the lyrics a lot more and understood what it was about. Ghost of the Forest, just a cool song. I don't think anything that Trey puts on is bad. I'm really starting to like all the stuff that you put on for him. As you said, you compiled all the numbers, and I think you put on 4 or 5 of him already or something. But
which is actually cheating because 4 for him, but 3 is Fish. That actually makes 7. But
yeah,
you
so
know,
yeah, we're hearing a lot of that. So that and Tedeschi trucks, yeah.
Mo.
Mo.
Mo,
How did
Fish,
Mo make the top?
Mo,
Maybe
Fish,
I'll take
Tedeschi
the bullet
trucks,
for
and Trey
that.
Anastasio. Yeah.
Hey, there's some good Mo songs. I like those songs. I like everybody you mentioned there. There's some good stuff. Yeah, there's not really much I can say about this. Devil's Arcade came from this record Magic that I really like too. I'm hit and miss with Springsteen. I recognize him as a talent. I never really got into his early New Jersey heavy stuff, but he's had some really good stuff over the years that I won't spend any time here naming, but that's why I put that on. Ghost of the Forest and Blinding Light Show, good songs. I still feel like Blinding Light Show made it on a playlist at some point. I recognize it. And I had Triumph, like one of their records, but I don't think it was that one. So anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think that song has been on a tape. It had to have been. And I think it was one that we made, one that's been lost to the ages, but probably the one with the medicine jar on it.
Which is yeah, you're right, it's missing. And that's fair game. That's fine. And also just the comment about the length. That if you remember correctly, that playlist, there were short songs, kind of medium-sized songs, and
Right.
long. So I had some short songs, but none of them really followed in with the other stuff. So is that right? Is that what yeah. So anyway.
We might have to revisit that concept.
Well, it's amazing though that even all 3 of these playlists, we did 15 songs, different genres and playlists, and they all came in at like an hour and 2 minutes, an hour and 5 minutes, which seems to be our sweet spot, our average. And so it's not like we busted it by putting long songs on or anything like that.
Right. For sure.
So any favorites among this playlist here?
Well, like I said, Dinosaur was my favorite one, I think, of all of it. Just caught me off guard, and I love the lyrics in it and the beat and the vibe to it. So I'll go with Dinosaur for sure. I thought that just every time I heard it, it came on. Of course, followed by the Diary of Horace Wimp. I don't know. It was weird. That was one of the weirdest transitions I think that we've had.
I've mentioned it's hard to have 5 here starred as my favorites, not including songs I put on. And Been Down This Road, I put a star by Mr. Oysterhead. It's just kind of like it draws me in, and the Merry Christmas, Ed Sheeran, and then the Miles Goodwin. I keep going back to that one. It's hard for me just to say one favorite though, on some of these.
For me, I liked Been Down This Road, and I've been to Georgia on a Fast Train. Those 2 right off the bat got me. I did like Dinosaur too. But yeah, good playlist all the way around.
Oh yeah.
All right, time to pivot to the last 11 through 15. Stay with us, people. Stay with us. We're almost there. This is the last 5. So the last 5, the first one was kind of an odd one because it was an old tape that was dug up. Mike, were you the one that found it, or Jose?
No, I
Jose dug it up.
Yeah.
Which one was the tape again?
Softball, Softball
was-
Victory.
I found two for sure
Right.
that I was able to transcribe. And I think that was one. I had to go sit in my daughter's, the only tape player I have in the house is in my daughter's old Bug VW, and listen to it in there. So I was thinking I put that. I do remember though with the time period when we did this. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe.
No, I own that one physically. I physically own that tape. I have it
Oh,
in my desk drawer right now.
They call it softball, but I always call it run DMJ, right?
Run DMJ. I don't know how we came up with that. It was just, again, I think
Well,
we talked about it. I just don't remember.
DMJ,
Well, yeah, but
Run
I don't know who
DMJ.
was the one that was like, "Hey, we should."
But it didn't bear a lot of semblance to Run DMC, I don't think.
no.
Not
I
really.
think we made a lot of questionable naming decisions back in the day, and we could discuss why that
Yeah.
was if we want.
We've got to not revisit some of them.
But
You're
we
right.
did-
You're right. You were the one that had this. I don't.
But we were able to go back and fairly ascertain that these songs were done in the 1985-86 timeframe. We don't have the exact date. It wasn't written on the tape, but all the songs that we put on, I did a quick look, and there wasn't anything that was like 1988 or anything. Most of it was like 86 and before, or at least I think. So the rule on this one was kind of stay in that time frame. Don't throw a 1995 song on there or something like that. So we started out with so let me list the five tapes first. So the first one was the Run DMJ, which was again from that 1985-86 time period. The second one, the playlist number 12, was live music. So all the songs were live music. The next one then was The Road, songs about the road. The next one was titled Water. It was songs about water, oceans, rivers, streams, whatever we wanted to have. And then the last one was more of just a free form as well, but we called it Fine Line because it was the first song that we had put on that by Paul McCartney. So those are the five playlists that we did. We'll now just jump into that first one, Run DMJ Softball Sunday tape. Mike started this one off with Welcome to the Occupation, REM, from that time period pretty well. And then I put on The Hunter from a group called GTR. And then Jose followed up with Kiss of Life by Peter Gabriel. So I guess I sound like a broken record a little bit, but these three songs went really good together as well. For that time, because they were all in that time period, right? So it was that one thing that will make it sound a lot alike, even though they don't sound alike. I mean, the songs are quite different in what they did, but you could tell it's from that time period. I liked all three. I forget how much I liked REM, and so every time I hear Mike's put on a couple of different REM songs, and I keep going, oh wow, yeah, I remember I was really into them and really liked a lot of their songs. And then GTR is a band that was put together. I think it has, help me now.
Steve Howe,
Steve Hackett,
Steve
Steve
Hackett,
Howe, Jeff Downs,
right?
kind of the groups from Asia and Yes and some others right there. They kind of formed a band. They only had that one album out, but I always like that the song The Hunter. And then Kiss of Life, I put question marks by it because I like Peter Gabriel, but for some reason this song, again, it's not a bad song. It didn't do much for me. I'll just say that. I just went, okay, all right. I like the cool drum beats and the syncopation and stuff that's in it, but it's classic Peter Gabriel. Maybe I wasn't in the mood when I listened to this a few times, but that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it.
No, I agree. I mean, it's early Peter Gabriel, and oftentimes you don't get to hear the early Peter Gabriel, which was more raw than it is now. It's a lot more refined than it was.
What album was it?
So it's off one of those, right?
Security.
Security. So yeah, I put it on there. I mean, it's just in the 80s. I like early Peter Gabriel. It's not his best, as it's not his worst, unless they say so. And then yeah, so I agree. In the same vein, The Hunter, they should have been better, shouldn't they have?
Yeah, that could have been a little better. Yeah.
If you listen to that song, you want a lot more guitar. I mean, it's Steve Hackett and Steve Howe, and this song doesn't have that one guitar moment. That one guitar, I thought, I don't remember listening to the album. I remember you had the album, but I thought this song at some point was going to take off with the guitar, and it never really got there. I don't know. I just thought that,
Yeah.
but and then of course REM. Well, REM was REM, so I'm not going to say nothing about REM.
That REM, just to segue off that REM that was Document, and that had a lot of songs that I think did get End of the World as We Know It was on there, and some others that got play on the radio. So I kind of wanted to find something more obscure. But this is one I used to have the cassette. On one side it was this, the other side was Momentary Lapse of Reason. And I go, back when I used to run, I go running around what used to be called Town Lake and that tape, and I just go both sides. So that was a long favorite of mine. Kiss of Life, that was the first Peter Gabriel album I really got into. It had Shock the Monkey and several other songs I liked. Then I kind of followed from there onto the other ones. And I don't want to pile on, but I have to agree. Really would have expected more out of Steve Howe and Steve Hackett and Jeff Downes, frankly. And like I said, I want to pile on. I read a review, and I think the criticism or the speculation why they didn't shine in the way you're describing with Morgan, because they were all like such, I don't want to say big egos, but probably true, but they all wanted to, they were trying to balance with each other. And so none of them really ever got to shine, which is a shame because I love Steve Hackett, Steve Howe, and I'm somewhat familiar with Jeff Downes. But it's not bad. I just, it didn't wow me. So.
See, now I have regrets now because my other choices we keep talking about this I should have put the David and David on. Welcome to the Boomtown, right in that 85 time frame, man. Would have been a good selection, but
I bailed you out with the Kiss of Life. You can take that.
Good. Well, then the next three were from when we first did it, we did live music, and I think the live one was another one of my favorite playlists that we put together. So I was kind of excited about putting another live song on. I think we all had a bunch that didn't make it the first time around. There were a lot to choose from. But Mike started out with Jumpin' Jive by Joe Jackson, and I wasn't familiar with that, but loved that song. And then I put on Kodachrome, and it was actually from Simon and Garfunkel's concert in Central Park, and it was Kodachrome / Maybelline. They kind of combined two songs, and then Jose did Roger Waters' Picture That. Again, I thought we had a good vibe going. Mike and I were riffing off each other here. You had the Jumpin' Jive and then Kodachrome, and then it went into Maybelline. It sounded a lot like that same thing. And it had some horns in it. Could have been on Funky Good Times. Both of them could have been on Funky Good Times. Could have been Funky Good Times and live. We love them both. I mean, we were in the zone. And then Jose came with Picture That, Roger Waters, and the mood just dropped.
Okay.
It's a good song. It's a good song, but mood just sucked the air out.
Okay. I'm 2 for 2 on this one. Okay, I'll take it. No.
I'm just calling it like I see it.
It
man.
is kind of jarring to hear Jumpin' Jive and then Maybelline and then Roger Waters yelling at you and telling you what's wrong with the world.
Picture that.
No,
Picture that.
No, I'll take that. It's a great song, but yeah, I didn't read the room. Is that what they say?
I will go ahead. You want to finish your thought?
No.
Okay. I do like the Roger Waters a lot, and I wasn't familiar with it I think there's a little period there, a couple of his records that I didn't, get into. Not that I didn't get into, I just didn't check them out. And I need to, because despite some things I disagree with about his public statements, I love his music. And he's not a light guy, that's what he's gonna do. But it is a good song. I will say, Jose, actually, Kiss of Life, Jump and Jive, and Kodachrome, those three seem to go
That's
well
true.
together.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. That's true.
So, and after Picture This, well, I continue that. We'll go on to that in a minute, but if it comes up later, I'll go ahead and say it now. Kodachrome and Maybelline is probably my favorite thing on here. I had forgotten I had the cassette of Simon and Garfunkel concert in Central Park, whatever it was, and I just think it's really cool how they go from Kodachrome, which was when I was a kid, I loved that song, and I still do. But they kind of transition with the horns from that into Maybelline, and it changes the chords a little. I don't know exactly, but it changed a little bit what's in Maybelline. But I think it was awesome. So, and just mine, Jump and Jive is actually a Cab Calloway song. But I was familiar with this Joe Jackson first because I had this double live CD set, which you should check it out. There's a lot of great stuff on there, and he really apparently is awesome live. I've only caught a glimpse of him, but yeah, I've always liked that one. So Cab Calloway should really get credit for that, probably.
And I'm not suggesting, I'm a big Roger Waters fan. I like a lot of his stuff. It was just the timing of the
Oh
song.
no,
You
no.
put this somewhere else. You put this with the slow, drippy David Gilmour song later on, and it goes real well.
Yeah.
They'd have gotten into a
Probably.
fist fight with each other.
Yeah,
My
you
mixtape.
can't put them back to back on a playlist, and they'll fight.
It's brutal. No, I'm taking it. No, I'm accepting my faults.
Well, the next three was The Road, and it was again that was another good recent playlist that we put together, and the road trip in and a lot of kind of things like that. So Mike started it off with Dire Straits, a song called News. Then I did the Allman Brothers, Ramblin' Man, and kind of pay tribute to Dickie Betts, who just passed away. And then Jose followed it with Neil Young, White Line. And I liked all three of these together. Again, this was a good combination. Not familiar with the Dire Straits, but just loved this song too. I think this might have been one of my favorites on the playlist here. Just the Mark Knopfler guitar is so you can always tell that it's Mark Knopfler. And like I say, Ramblin' Man, it's predictable and all of that. We had a little bit of debate when we were putting this on about whether these were true road songs or not. But we won't rehash that. Ramblin' Man does talk about being on the road and being born in a backseat of a bus and all that kind of stuff. And the Neil Young, I don't know why I wasn't familiar with this one either, but this just like the country, three sets of songs. I would have loved to just keep going with the road on these type songs. I liked all three of them.
I think we'll also Ramblin' Man because of the passing of Dickie Betts just recently, and you kind of wanted to honor him.
Right.
Right. So, no, all three good songs. Mike will defend his News, Dire Straits. It's a great song. Road song. Okay. I'm going to say, yes.
Go ahead. Have your say. Go ahead.
I read the lyrics, like you said, read about the song. I'll accept what has occurred there. Nah, it's a whole lot of fun, and like Dave said, all three went together. Neil Young, I put on. This was a cassette I used to have, and I used to play it a lot when I first moved to Ohio, and of course when it snowed. You know how it is, and it starts snowing. That white line is pretty vital to you when you're driving down the road. So I've always identified with that cassette and that song. But yeah, all three are really good. But Mike, let's hear about Dire Straits.
Okay. Well, News. The name comes from the very last line of the song. You get a line in the news. It's about a guy who's a motorcycle rider. He's at a bar, he's getting stoned, and he's drinking. And his wife there is like, "Don't get on your motorcycle and take to the road," because it's and he does, and he dies, and he gets a line in the news. So I don't know. It's road to me. I'll if we're going down that road, I I do know the actual road playlist we did before had a song about a river. I think the Scree. Was that a road? I don't know. There's something about an airplane. Is that a road? I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's true. We had the plane
That
crash
was
by Mo.
travel. Touche. That was travel, but yes.
Oh, whatever. It doesn't bother me. I love that. I love that Dire Straits song. But and of course, Ramblin' Man. Who doesn't like that? Who has any sense? And then White Line was actually what I was going to put on, and I changed my mind at the last second. But that was like I had three that I was gonna choose from, and that was one of them. And I don't know, went back and forward. And I think also after picture that, I wanted something a little more mellow. White Line is kind of that grungy kind of, distorted guitar that Neil Young
You
does.
couldn't bail me out. You couldn't bail me.
I'm just trying to fit in, just trying to smooth it out, trying to make you look good.
Good. Any other comments about those or?
No.
No.
So the next one, we went from the road to water. And Mike started out with a song called Burn On. I'm not sure the water connection, but no, I'm just kidding. Actually, they talked about the the lake in the in Ohio, was a river Ohio, the Cuyahoga,
The
dumping into
Cuyahoga, yes.
yeah, all of that. So there's water there. Randy Newman was the artist there. Mike's favored us with a couple of Randy Newmans in the past. Then I put on Black Water by Doobie Brothers. I guess I was just going Southern rock kind of thing or whatever, but between the road and the water, it seemed to forgot I was one I wanted to put on before anyway. I know it's a often overplayed kind of song, but it's just a great one. And then Jose followed that up with David Gilmour, A Boat Lies Waiting, and pretty somber, slow song about the ocean. But a good song, classic David Gilmour. But I want to talk about Black Water, Doobie Brothers for just a minute. I think can't say it's underrated or overrated. It is what it is. You've heard it so many times or whatever. But if we're talking water songs, Black Water is just one of those ones with it gets that especially when they drop out and do the acapella part of that, and it just gets you going. I want to hear some funky Dixieland, Pretty Mama. I mean, that's so good. That's so good. I love that song. I like the Randy Newman. I like the orchestration and stuff that was in that song. How he built that into it, and he's just super talented. And then again, David Gilmour. It just kind of sucked the life out of me. Again, I don't know what to do.
Oh my God.
Listen to the playlist, and we're going pretty good.
I'm almost 5 for. Oh my God. No, again, I accept.
I guess I just wasn't. Maybe just a different time, a different place. The song's great. It's just the placement of them each time. I'm like going. We'll have to do. We're gonna have to just do a Pink Floyd, David Gilmour, Roger Waters kind of compilation thing or whatever. But we'll find a place.
Oh my God.
It's a beautiful song though.
No, I'll take the hit on that one as well. It doesn't go as well, but I will say this about first. Let me talk about Black Water. You don't think it's overplayed? I played it because I have a playlist. I get in my car, I'm driving, and I'm listening to it one day with mom. My brother's visiting. We get in his car. He puts on the radio. It's playing. We walk into HEB. Guess what's playing?
Yeah.
I heard it 3 times in like a span of 12 hours. You're just like, oh my God. And of course, it's a great song. Don't get me wrong, but man, that song is played a lot, especially around here. It's classic, you know. And then, shall we talk about Burn On? As an Ohioan, we take personal offense to Cleveland always being labeled as the city that had a burning river. That's all they think. It was like what, 50 years ago now? But no, we have to live with this, you know, ignominious stain on the state of Ohio. Now, I understand the song and of course Randy Newman. I know where he's coming from, but yeah, I know Ohioans take offense to that song. Just out there.
Well, for on the Randy Newman, just to follow up on that, I like back in the day. I mean, this was like back when we were doing stuff. That was one of the first couple of records of his I had, and I loved all those songs. And you know, there's dark humor in most of them, and this one, you know, it's the river was so polluted that it caught fire, which is a funny concept, I suppose. Also very depressing, and
There's nothing funny
but
about it.
I will also admit something else. This is the second song I put on with Cleveland in the title. It wasn't I was singling out Cleveland as much as you know, a little nod to you, Jose. I purposefully put this on just to kind of, you know, mess with you. I do like the song, but I have to admit I was kind of yanking your chain a little bit with that one. So
Apparently,
I figured it wouldn't go well.
I'm deserving it with the picks I made on this playlist. So.
Well, you know, I want to say one thing about this. I was thinking about this the other day is the order in which, and we switch this thing up all the time. You start off, then we're in the middle, then we're on here. But the order that you are, there is some pressure both ways. It's either starting the song or starting the playlist or whatever, right? Being the first of the three to do that song sets a tone for that or carries that on. The last person has that pressure too to either to end the playlist, or in this case, when we're doing the chunks of three, right? Each song. Now you've got whoever it is, it starts it, the next person follows. Oh, we got a kind of a thing going, and then that third one, you know, you either got to follow it or you're splitting it or you're going a little bit different. You kind of have that pressure, and then the middle person's just kind of going, okay, I'll follow what the first person did, or I'll do that. But so the order that you are picked in, or that we're doing this, has some level of responsibility. I'll call it that.
Yeah, no, that's true. Again, I should apologize, Jose, for I knew it wasn't
What?
whatever.
Yeah, no
I'm just-
need to apologize.
but okay, but I think you're getting a bad rap for these songs.
Ah,
You know, because I do like those songs. Whatever, we all put things, you know, a boat line. Well, Blackwater first. Yeah, it's a classic. There's a reason you're hearing it 3 times a day, because you know people love it. You know, we were back there in the day, so we've heard it a lot more than some people. But you know, some people only listen to a few songs their whole lives, so you know, this is a favorite. But it's a good song. It's a great song. Puts me on the Mississippi on a steamboat or something, a riverboat, and then A Boat Lies Waiting. I really like this one, and it's about it features some Richard Wright on it. I think his voice is on there a little bit, and maybe some of his playing, but it's dedicated. He had died, you know, for those who don't know, he was also a member of Pink Floyd along with David Gilmour, who did the song, and he had died not too long before I think this came out, and so he wrote this song kind of, you know, mourning his friend, who didn't get the best treatment from Roger Waters, but it's a great song. It is very sad, you know. It's about, you know, riding that boat, you know, to the other side, you know, and other such things. But I like that song.
well, all I'll say is they are good songs. Obviously, they're great songs. It's just like Dave says, it's the placement of the mixtape and that aspect of it, and the flow, and like you said, the pressure, and what do I put? Do I just go this? Do I do that? Does this work? And believe me, I don't think anything worked for me at all.
It's a lot different than the boatman's dance. I'll just say that.
I
Well,
love-
and this format of following up with groups of three, it makes it a lot harder to do the transitions, you know.
Yeah.
I think we still have this same kind of issue and trade-off when we're doing the bigger, more full, you know, the full playlist. You know, that it's do I try to fit in what the other guys are doing, particularly if it's an open-ended theme, you know, free form, or do I want to throw something out there that they may or may not like, but it's something I like and I want to share it. So
Oh yeah. No.
Well, that's the beauty of the playlist. And sometimes they flow better than others, but other times they have hidden gems that are there just because we decided to put a song or a track on there that maybe doesn't fit. But guess what? It's very memorable because you remember that one, or like Long Live Polynzania or whatever.
I
Love
like
it.
that one. I
Yeah.
like that one.
We all have our ones, but the last three were pretty cool. And I guess if I'd been thinking fast enough again, because I was in the middle. So the first one was On the Radio by Spoon that Mike put on, which is a way cool song. Then I put on a song called Swing Swing by All American Rejects. I've been waiting to find the right time to put on an All American Rejects song. And I thought it was pretty cool there. And then Jose ended it with Rock and Roll by Velvet Underground, which was a great choice. Mike's and Jose's kind of paid, you know, had that radio theme in there. Maybe I wasn't quick enough to come up with a song, you know, that had radio in it or something like that for the middle one. But I thought again these three went great together. I'd never heard of the Spoon song. So I'm interested in hearing what Mike has to say about that one. On the All American Rejects, I think I mentioned this before that my oldest son had his little genre of music that he liked, and while I was hanging out with him as a teenager over the years, he would introduce me to some of his songs, and this one was always on one of my playlists or in my music that I had. And I don't have all their album or anything, but I had like 4 or 5 of their top songs or whatever. And so this was one of them. And then the Velvet Underground, I wasn't familiar with that song, but I like Lou Reed and his vibe, and I liked the song a lot, Rock and Roll.
Yeah, that Velvet Underground, that's the only one of their CDs I ever bought, and I think it's considered more pop than the others if you listen to them. I mean, honestly, they kind of go out there on some of those other records. I think they only did really 3 that really count as, you know, though I don't know, but the 3 main ones. And that song, I love that song. I love that record. It has Sweet Jane on it and some other things. And Swing Swing. You know, I heard of this band. My nephew, he was way into them, and he had a band. He's now, I guess, gone on to a professional life, you know. But he's a really good musician, and so I kind of when I gave a little more. I checked out his stuff more when he'd recommend it, and these guys I had heard, and this song in particular reminds me of Weezer a lot. I don't know what it is exactly about it. I got way into them for a while, and then on the radio, Spoon. They're still around. I saw them once, a set of them at ACL Fest, and for whatever reason, I love the show. Some of it reminded me a little bit of Elvis Costello, some a little bit of Peter Gabriel, and it's like for whatever reason, I never followed up on it. And they put this, I think this is what this is off of, a greatest hits record, and had 2 unreleased songs, and this is one of them that's on the radio. And I really liked that piano and everything to it. And I still would like to do a radio related something like DJ whatever playlist, and I had been holding on to this for that, but I just went ahead and used it. So yeah.
No, I think I finally caught on. Maybe semi got on board with the theme at the very end, even though really the Velvet Underground's just so distinct that, especially when you go on the radio and swing, swing, and then you're like, oh, okay, oh, rock and roll. Velvet Underground. But no, I liked all three choices. I think at least I finished kind of on a high note. I'll take the beating for all the other choices. But no, I thought we did well on most of this thing. Again, I have to reassess my whole musical taste now, decide what I really like.
Don't
Well,
do
one
that.
could
We
argue.
love your song choices. I'm not sure we like your bands. We have a lot of ideas for playlists coming up. I mean, this was our 16th, 17th, and 18th, sort of that we did three of them and combined it into one podcast. But we have a lot of ideas out there, and hopefully the people who are listening to it like to listen to the music first and foremost, and then maybe a little bit of the insight that we provide about it. But no, we have fun with it, and that's the main thing. And we're three old friends, and you know what? The music never ends. Any last thoughts, comments about this playlist or the others?
I'm just excited to continue to build this library that you accumulate on your phone, and then you can always go back to. And the topics that we've been talking about seem to be pretty interesting. We'll have to figure out something, but like I said, for one thing, I don't ever to sound a little self-serving. We're not boring, if anything, in our musical taste. That's for sure. You may think we're boring as individuals, but maybe not boring in our musical taste for sure. And I don't think we're boring as individuals. So, I'm looking forward to doing some more, and continuing and talking about it. Of course. I mean, learned so much through these first. How many songs were there? 225. I mean, when was the
Plus 40, plus 45 more that we just did.
right? So how many times have you gotten that kind of exposure in the last, couple 2-3 years where it's a constant flow. So I love it.
Yeah, me too. I can't add really anything new to that. It kind of just echoing that last thing you said. It's like I don't get exposure to a lot of new stuff, and so some of this is new, some of it's old that I wasn't familiar with, but it's better than anything else I've got going out there right now that's bringing music to me. So I love it for that, if nothing else. But there's a lot of other reasons I love doing it. So
Well,
let's
look
keep it
forward
up.
to the next playlist we put together, and get together and listen to some great tunes, and yeah, keep it going.